Hey everybody, welcome to Karate America KA Community Livestream. It's Tuesday night, it's 8 p.m. Central, and that means we are streaming live right here in the KA community. It's really good to have you with us tonight. I'm Mrs. Quirk. With me tonight is Mr. Quirk.
How's it going, everyone?
Mr. Quirk, welcome to the live stream. We're going to be talking about a topic tonight that is near and dear to Mr. Quirk's heart and maybe to some of yours as well. It's what it takes to be a martial arts instructor. And we are going to answer questions. We're going to take hopefully your questions, your comments, your insights, and we're going to learn from Mr. Quirk and just have a conversation around what it takes to be a martial arts instructor, a great martial arts instructor, and some of the answers, like we said in our teaser post this week, just might surprise you. So stay tuned. First of all, if you would like to make some comments, leave some questions, join the conversation, which we really hope you do, please leave us comments throughout the live stream. Don't be shy. Anything that comes to mind, any question you have, a comment you'd like to make for Mr. Quirk or for me or for anybody really in our organization, please do so. If you are watching us on Facebook, you can, I think right above us is the comments on the StreamYard directions. You can go in and verify and authenticate through StreamYard. It just lets us know and it shows your name in the comments so that we can address you. And of course, if you're watching from YouTube or Twitch, you are already authenticated. So let's get into the conversation. Please bring us your questions, your comments as we get into it tonight. So we do have some announcements, and we have a really, really exciting first announcement. First of all, I have to do this. Congratulations to all of our newest Karate America black belts and our advanced degrees. Yeah. Congratulations to all of you. We had our graduation on May 22nd, and it was, as always, it was really inspiring and phenomenal. Mr. Quirk, anything that you would like to say to our newest black belts?
I mean,
might be watching.
Yeah, welcome to black belt. First of all, I mean, it was a great couple shows we had. You know, that graduation, you know, I don't know how much we're going to talk about it tonight, but it was basically all of last year's students that graduated, plus the first part of this year that graduated too. So it was a pretty cool show. It
was, and it was broken into two shows. Is that correct, sir?
It was. We actually had, yes, we broke it into two shows because of seating restrictions and things like that. We just had to separate them out.
Yeah, it was awesome. So congratulations to everybody who has now joined the ranks of Karate America black belts. And who did we have for our advanced degrees, Mr. Quirk? Was it? I know it was Mr. Pieper. Who else did we have?
Oh, we had a group of them, a couple groups of them for both graduations.
Yeah. Okay, so we had a good number of advanced degrees as well.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really, really exciting. So let's see, we got, can't wait for this one. We have the Roland Osborne seminar coming up, and it's going to be held at Karate America Brookfield on June 26th. Now, spaces for this are going to go really, really fast. We have students coming in from other areas for this. We are going to have limited capacity because of, just some of the spacing restrictions. Mr. Quirk, can you speak a little bit to what we can expect at the seminar and who Mr. Osborne is?
Yeah, so I've known Mr. Osborne for a long time. I mean, decades. He's an amazing martial artist. He's got such a broad knowledge of martial arts, and he's worked with thousands of people all over the world, really. I mean, at one point he was, I can't remember the station, but he actually had a TV show where he would travel around. Discovery, that's what it was, yes. And he would travel around to martial artists all over the world and just introduce us to those styles of martial arts and those masters. He also had a kids magazine, a martial arts kid magazine. He is, I think he's doing what's called he's calling it the Thrive Tour.
Yeah, we'll pop this up here.
Yeah, okay, getting people, just getting back to training after the shutdown and, people training from home and just not being able to train at all. And so he's traveling around the country doing seminars for students and instructors.
Yep, and that's him right there in his Hyper.
Yeah, he actually created Hyper, which is short for high performance. It's kind of a play on high performance. And yeah, he'll be coming out. He'll be doing 3 student seminars on June 26th.
Okay.
The first seminar will be a basic seminar, so it'll be for people with no experience at all. If you've never done martial arts before, or if you're one of our brand new students, kind of in that beginner mindset, there'll be a seminar for them. There'll be an intermediate kind of advanced seminar. And then there's going to be an additional seminar just for staff at the end. That's all going to be on the 26th.
Okay. And if people want to find out more about times and pricing and if they can go or should go, talk to their instructors at their academy, correct?
Correct. All the information should be starting to come out next week.
Okay. Great. So if you are a Karate America Brookfield, Pewaukee, Worldwide student, and you're interested in this really cool opportunity, we have Mr. Osborne flying out from California to do some in-person, just incredible work with our students. This is a really cool opportunity. Talk to your team at your academy. They can help you out, whether it's Brookfield, Pewaukee, or Worldwide, to get all signed up for this. And truly don't wait until the last minute, because spaces are going to go really fast for this one.
Yeah, it's going to be super limited. And we will have worldwide option. I believe we'll have a worldwide option available too.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Speaking of fantastic, we are still in the midst of our Role Models Train Free event, May 10th through June 18th. So we're right in the middle of that now. We are honoring, in the spirit of Mother's Day, Father's Day, caregivers, leaders, role models, people who inspire us to believe in ourselves and set that role model for us. We are offering free training at Karate America academies at either Brookfield, Pewaukee, or virtually on Worldwide, May 10th through June 18th. If you haven't yet invited your role model who's important to you, please do that. See your team at your academies and contact your team. They will get you all set up with an invitation. It's not too late to give them some great martial arts training with Karate America for free as a thank you to them, and letting them know what a big inspiration they have been for you.
And if you're an adult and you have ever thought about doing martial arts, this is the perfect chance to give it a try. I hear so often people say, I'll try it in the future. I want to lose a little weight first, or I want to, get a little bit more physically fit first, and then I'll do martial arts. It's like, no, don't wait. This is what we do. We help people get in shape. We help people. Yeah. So,
and especially
now's the time.
Yeah. And with our worldwide program, it's like, hey, it doesn't matter where you live. You can do it right in your living room. You don't have to deal with driving or parking.
Right.
We don't know how to make it more convenient. We will come to you in your home and you can train. Just try out a couple of classes. If it's not your thing, so be it, but it just might be your thing. And this would be a fantastic way to give it a try and join our KA community.
Yes. And I like Mrs. Pieper's comment, or a great time to come back. So if you've trained in the past, it might be a good time to restart. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, Mrs. Pieper. Absolutely. And then our last announcement that we have for tonight, Worldwide families, we know that you have a lot of your kiddos have earned their focus and self-confidence, self-discipline badges. So make sure that you're posting pictures on Facebook, share them with our community. We would love to see the badges. We have some pretty cool ideas coming out here in the next few weeks about how you can display them and how your students can actually show their little own Karate America training studio behind them when they take class. We have some more behavior or excellence badges coming out in the weeks to come, so stay tuned for those. And if you are just joining us, welcome to the KA Community Livestream. No matter what part of the KA community you're from, maybe you're a student, maybe you're a parent, maybe you're a friend, maybe you're just somebody who thinks that what we do is awesome for the community. We're so happy to have you. Let us know that you're on the stream. Let us know, leave us a comment. Let us know where you're watching from, what your connection is to the Karate America community. Are you a recent black belt? Are you a mom or a dad or a grandparent or a friend watching from afar? Let us know that you're here and let us know where you're watching from. So we're going to get into our conversation tonight, Mr. Quirk, which is thinking outside the box. Do you think that you know what it takes to be a Karate America martial arts instructor? The answer might surprise you. So when I say that topic, when I say those words, you're chuckling. Why are you chuckling? Say more.
Yeah, I'm chuckling because it's changed. The concept of what it takes to be an instructor has changed over the past 30 years that I've been doing martial arts. I'm sure it's even changed more since then. But yeah, so what does it take to be a martial arts instructor? And I guess that's what I was kind of chuckling. What it used to be considered and what we consider it now are polar opposites.
Well, yeah. And I think, you talk to a lot of people, throughout your week, every week, both in industry insiders, people who have been in the martial arts for decades. And you also talk with people who are students, who are parents, who maybe they've only been with our organization or around martial arts for a few months or a few years, and they're relatively new to our community of martial artists. So what do you find is the biggest, I guess, maybe, is there a gap between what people perceive in their mind as being a martial arts instructor and what we're really looking for? What's the biggest gap or that you find when you talk to people?
I mean, that's a good question. I'd love to hear some things in chat of what people think it means to be a martial arts instructor. Because I've literally, since I've been 15 years old, I've been doing martial arts, and I started teaching when I was probably 16 and a half. So I don't know anything else other than being a martial arts instructor, really. So
yeah. Leave us a comment if you think, what do you think it takes to be a martial arts instructor? The martial arts instructors that are in your life, in your kids' lives, in your family members' lives, what are the qualities that you think that they have that make them stand out from non-martial arts instructors? We'd love to hear what you have to say. Leave us a comment in chat.
Yeah, I think what if I had to create the story, a lot of people think that, being a martial arts instructor, the technique has to be perfect. We have to be these amazing, fitness models or whatever. And, we have to be like Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee, and we have to be able to, perform at this really super high level. And so there is something to be said. Obviously, we need to know our martial arts skills. In order to teach it, we need to know what those are. But really, in the end, it just comes down, at least for us, for our organization, is just that concept of, do we find passion? Do we find fulfillment in helping people grow? And that's it. I mean, that's the foundation of what I think it takes to be a great martial arts instructor. Do I love working with people? Do I love helping people grow? And if so, we just happen to do it with a martial arts tint to it.
Yeah, that's the vehicle.
That's the vehicle we do. But in the end, I tell my staff, if you took all my martial arts away, I would find another way to inspire and help people.
Purpose.
Right. Yeah, totally. Right. I just happen to love martial arts. I have a passion for martial arts. I have a passion for helping people improve. And those two things come together perfectly. So
we got some comments here. We got great leadership skills from Ms. Fossen and determination from Mrs. Pieper. So I love those. Let's talk about the great leadership skills. And here's one of the really interesting things about the instructor program that we have, the instructor certification, and the instructors that we have in our organization. And what is the saying, like, great leaders aren't born, they're made. Right?
Yeah, right.
So I think that it speaks, certainly the caliber of people and just people's, just as human beings, who they are, and the on-purpose training and certification with leadership. We see leadership as a science. We know actually that leadership is a science. Of course, there are art pieces that can be added on once the science is learned and the foundation is learned. But we teach leadership as a science. We have a leadership team. You run legacy training, and a lot of our instructors are people. And I'd love to hear your take on this. But some of the people, maybe over the years, over the decades that you've been teaching, that were probably the best instructors, weren't necessarily the best practitioners or the best martial artists. Sometimes it's opposite.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And so I will speak on that point, but I love this concept of leadership. Like, in order to be a martial arts instructor, we have to be a strong leader. I think in our country, our world, really, we have kind of a warped view on what it means to be a leader. And I think that's one of the things that does hold people back from stepping into a leadership position. They think they need to be perfect. They think they need to be kind of at the pinnacle, at the top, in order to lead other people. And so what leadership looks like are these big, charismatic people that are out front. But in reality, I think that leadership shows up in everyday actions. I think, when someone holds a door open for someone else, that's a small act of leadership. When we're consciously trying to change the world around us for the better, those are acts of leadership. So when someone, thinks about becoming a martial arts instructor, I think a lot of people think, wow, I have to be up there. I have to be kicking as high as, sensei or the black belt. And I have to, have, like we said, maximized my training. And really it's not. It's just, what can I bring? What do I bring to the table? And how can I use it to help other people grow in their lives? That, to me, it's about those small pieces.
I love that. What's a brass tack question that I get asked a lot or mentioned a lot, especially for adults with careers and families? What kind of time commitment are we looking at, like, per week, per month? Does somebody have to quit their job and become a full-time martial arts instructor, or what kind of options do we have? Because some of the martial arts instructors that I've worked with and dealt with in my life that are the most inspiring, to be honest, were people who during the day they were doctors and they were a karate instructor at night. I was actually just having a conversation with somebody last week, and they mentioned an instructor they had years ago And I just kind of chuckled because it's like, I wonder if this person knows that their karate instructor was really, this high level CEO during the day. She was basically running a very, very well-known company during the day. And then at night she would come in and she was a karate instructor. And that's how all of our students knew her as, even still to this day. Right. So this is not somebody who quit her job, quit her career. I mean, she had, I think, like 4 kids and a full-time career and taught classes at Karate America and was amazing and really inspired people. So what is the time commitment, would you say?
I mean, it's across the board. So it can be a full career, which means a normal 40-hour, work week, or it can be 1 class or 2 classes a week. It's really, it's really about inspiring people. And then we talk about what the schedule looks like after that.
Yeah.
Am I on purpose? Am I on purpose? Then if I really am, or you really are on purpose, let's find 1 class for you to assist in or teach a week.
Yeah.
If you want to make it a career, then let's talk about what a career looks like.
Right.
We'll open a school and put you in a school.
Sure. But if there are people out there who are listening and wondering, like, that kind of sounds pretty cool, I don't know if I have the time commitment. So what you're saying is, I mean, we even have instructors that just teach a class a week.
Oh yeah,
in the evenings and work around their schedule. Yeah. So we have from Mrs. Jury, I think a great quality is someone who demonstrates a great role model. Would I want to be like that person? I think that's a really, really good point. And I know we touched on it last week with Mrs. Wadley, but having more women and girls as instructors and leaders, I think, is so important, right, Mr. Quirk? And
it is.
And giving our girls and all of us as women and as females somebody to look up to in the instructor role, I think, is so important.
Yeah, and I'm looking at her comment over here. That's where my eyes are glancing off to the side. And Mrs. Jury, you are the person that people want to be like. I mean, it's, I think that's the mindset shift. It's like we are looking to be like someone else. And it's like, would I want to be like that person? And then I look at somebody like Mrs. Jury, who's, an amazing person. She has an amazing family. Mm-hmm. She's an amazing martial artist. And it's like, people want to be like her.
Yeah. So, yeah. Why isn't Mrs. Jury an instructor? Mrs. Jury.
We're going to be talking about that, Mrs. Jury.
Not to put you on the spot, on the live stream or anything, ma'am, but we could use you. We have a comment here. Ms. Lou's sister to Mrs. Wenger in Chicago, martial arts instructor of yesteryear, Crease, martial arts of today, Mr. Miyagi. Yeah, I think that so many of us of a certain generation remember watching Karate Kid and Mr. Miyagi and that mentor relationship, from the instructors and from Mr. Miyagi as an instructor. And I love it too, because the older I get, the more I kind of get Mr. Miyagi. Yeah, like Daniel wanted to do all the really cool stuff. And he was like making him, paint his fence and all these things. And he was just sort of that quiet grandmaster who wasn't out in front with his hair on fire screaming and, in the cool uniform. He was like making tea in his little garage apartment, but he was the true master. That's such a great movie to watch over and over again, I think. Yeah. Yeah, we have from Mrs. Deacon, I want to be more like Mrs. Jury. See, we have Mrs. Jury fan club here starting. And I think too, if you can talk, Mr. Quirk, because I think that one of the pitfalls, I would say, of martial arts instructors is when we start to talk about ego. And I think that it's a pitfall for all leadership, to be completely honest. But I think that martial arts is specifically set up to have that be sort of a little stumbling block on the road, right? Because I think that some people, they want to be up in front. They want the title. They want the cool black belt. They want to strut in front of class. They want certain trappings that go with the leadership. And we see this in companies and corporations and organizations. This is not exclusive to martial arts by any means.
Right.
People who want leadership positions for, I don't want to say the wrong reason and put judgment on it, but for a reason other than supporting others and lifting others up. Yeah. And one of the things I want to hear what you have to say about this, but I think what I've worked with people who, one of the surprising things is when we get into a leadership position to realize that it's all about lifting and supporting others up. It's actually not being that in the spotlight role all the time, right? With the accolades and the titles. And I think that that's a really important thing to talk to people about who want to be martial arts instructors is, why do you want to do this to support others? Yeah. Or do you want to be the cool person up in front of the class, yelling go?
Yeah, I think a great martial arts instructor, and I think a leader in many cases too, they will be whatever they need to be to get the most out of the people around them and help the people around them grow. It's like If I have to be big and boisterous and in the spotlight in order to help people, then I'm going to do that. If I need to be quiet in order to help people, then I'll do that too. It's not about me. It's not about what I need. It really is about the student and what they need.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, I agree. I think ego can creep in. It's like, why I've seen martial artists, all over the world. And yeah, there are some martial artists that wear the belt just because they get to wear the belt, right? And they want to be a karate instructor so that they can stand up and everybody has to listen to them.
Yeah.
Right. They get to
be in the
strut.
spotlight.
They get to be in the spotlight, whatever that may be. And it's the wrong reason.
Yeah. Especially I think probably in an organization like ours where it's about purpose and values and supporting others. But so what would you say are some nuts and bolts pragmatic skills for an instructor? Because it really blows me away to understand. I think as a spectator, sometimes we sit back and we see a martial arts class, a great martial arts class, and sort of like watching like a play or a TV show or something, it looks like it just unfolds. And to understand that instructor, when he or she are really on their game, everything, no drama, is orchestrated, and that instructor's eyes miss nothing. So even things that, what I think is fascinating is even things that look like they're happening by accident aren't. And things that parents might be like, ooh, look over there. Ooh, look over there. Don't worry. The instructor sees all of that and then some. Can you speak to some of that's just sort of like lens and some of the pragmatic, even the safety skills of having sometimes upwards of 20, 30 students on the floor?
Yeah, a couple things come to mind. I think, from a parent standpoint, watching, so almost everything that's done on the floor is done on purpose by the instructor. So where they're walking on the floor, if they're walking on the left side of the floor versus the right side of the floor, at least for me, I know I'm walking on that side of the floor because I need to be on that side of the floor. Either I'm on that side of the floor because I can tell I need to give the students on this side space, or I'm on that side of the floor because I need to get closer to that student, maybe to increase their discipline or increase their focus, whatever that may be. So even where we're walking on the floor is usually on purpose. So yeah, and ask the first part of your question again.
I was just saying some of the pragmatic, skills of just floor management, and it's just also fascinating to me.
Yeah,
the things that look like they're just like it's just all sort of like organized chaos, but then to hear you and your peers and colleagues talk afterwards about it is choreographed down to the second, down to the minute, nothing that happened during class, even with like 20, 30, 50, I've seen like 20, 30, 50, 60 students at a time. And that instructor is just like a maestro, like everything happens, on purpose for him or her. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think, I've never thought about this before, but I think this might be true. We can probably gauge an instructor's ability by one, the outcome of the student and how well they're actually being able to perform what they're being taught. But two, the sheer number of people that they can hold at one time. So some instructors can only hold 2 or 3 people at one time. Others, can hold hundreds at the same time.
Yep.
For me, if I have my right number, I know when a student's not punching correct. I know when they're not kicking correct. I know, when they've made a mistake on a technique. We don't always say something to them though.
Yeah.
Right. I think we've talked about that.
And that's intentional, right?
Oh, totally.
And sometimes people sitting in the audience think that it's been missed by the instructor, right? Yeah.
Yep. Oh, the instructor's not correcting my son or daughter. It's like, no, we see it. The idea behind martial arts, at least for us, at least for me, isn't about the technique, because the technique is actually really simple to teach. What's not easy to teach is, or what takes longer to teach anyways, is to teach a student to think for themselves, to teach a student to wake up to the fact that maybe the technique is incorrect. And when we do that, then we actually teach them how to learn, and then they can actually self-correct the technique moving forward. So there is, yeah. So there's mistakes that happen. Then there'll be a gentle nudge from the instructor to say, wake up, hey, do it like this. But as the student gets higher in their training, a lot of times we'll give them less corrections. We'll give it to them when it's needed, when it's important. But if the correction's not there, it's not there for a reason. Yeah.
Mrs. Jury saying, I think it's a important message, Mrs. Quirk. I really dislike the spotlight, but helping others is huge for me. Exactly. And I think that I've talked to so many great instructors over the years who I wouldn't have known this, but they confide in me that they were like terrified to go up in front of people even sometimes for the first year or two of instructing. And then it wasn't terrified, it was a little bit scared. And then it was, right, but their fear does not control them. And they knew, to your point, Mrs. Jury, that it was about more than them, and that they had something, they had a voice, they were going to reach kids and students that other, big, loud, boisterous, hair on fire instructors weren't going to reach. And they stepped into that role. And I never would have known that they were nervous, but being out in front of people wasn't their thing, but helping others was. So that's a really, really great point. Mrs. Deacon, I was just talking to my leadership student about how it's not all about him, but about inspiring others. Yeah, I mean, and I think too, and you can speak a little bit to this, Mr. Quirk, but some of our younger students, I mean, depending on even just where brain chemistry and development as a person, it is quite a thing for young people to really understand, to be a role model for others. Right. Even when they're at certain ages. I mean, as adults, I think we sort of grow into that leadership role model role. Some of us do. But for young people, that's really something special, because the tendency is for all of us as little human beings, like, what about me? What do I get out of it? Right. This is really fun. I want to go do this. Right. Do you run into that when you're working with younger junior instructors?
Yeah, I think, you and I were just talking about this. I can't remember where we heard it, but they said, who was it that told us they were asked to be a leader?
Yeah, we were talking with a gentleman from another martial arts organization, and
Yeah, and it's the concept of when I'm 14 or 15 years old, do I really even know what it means to be a leader? Do I even know what it means to be a role model? Or am I so self-absorbed that maybe, that's not my main focus, is how am I going to influence other people?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that does exist. And at the same time, I look at our legacy class, and we probably have about 8, I think at this point, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds in there that they are there, and they are awake enough to say, yeah, I do want to be a role model. I do want to be a leader.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Ms. Kaniewski, talking about a leader and a role model. We have Ms. Kaniewski. She says, I've had instructors that I grew to respect tremendously without even knowing what they did for their day job. And then when I found out about their day job, I was even more impressed. Case in point, the instructor that we mentioned. I agree with you, Ms. Kaniewski. Some of my favorite instructors, some of my favorite adult students over the years have been people that, they're really high level doctors or something like that, but they were always like Mr. or Mrs., right? In karate class, they were another student. And it was like years later that I'd be like, oh, that person's a doctor. Like none of us even knew, right? Because they were always Mr. and Mrs. They were one of us in the karate academy, or had other sort of high level, really impressive jobs, or did something, for their day gig. And then they came in as instructors, and they were just out on the floor doing warm-ups and running drills and teaching. It's so, talk about being inspiring. Talk about leaving ego at the door.
I love that, because it really is, it's an even playing field.
Yep.
Right. So we're all out there with our little white belts on, with our uniforms on. We all feel a little odd. We all feel awkward.
That's the point. We leave it all out there, no matter what our career, our title, how many degrees we've earned. It's not that those things aren't important, but we come into this sacred space. To your point, Mr. Quirk, we bow in, we salute in, we leave outside, and we are all students. And I think even some of the best black belts that I've ever met are white belts at heart.
Yeah.
This is approach this like it's my first class. I've seen really high level black belts that have been around for decades take class from somebody who's been teaching from 6 months, and just have like fun, have a smile on their face, like actually out there learning and pushing themselves. So it's really inspiring. Ms. Kaniewski's also adding, being an instructor makes me a better martial artist and person. I learn when I instruct. Do you find that too, Mr. Quirk, that when you're teaching, is it always learning for you?
Oh, totally.
Are you learning in the moment?
Yeah, I am. You asked what it takes to be a martial arts instructor, and it's actually, to teach someone is really simple. It's just not easy. And I know what I want in the end is the student performing the technique the way I want them to perform it. If they're not, I need to find a different way to explain it. If that didn't work, I just find a different way to explain it. And I just constantly, come at things from a different angle. How can I explain this so that they understand it, so that they can hear it, not just so I can say it?
Yeah.
And in that process, I am learning about people. I'm learning about myself and how I describe things. I'm learning how people learn. And yeah, totally. I learn new things all the time from students.
Speaking of new things, I mean, we really right now in May 2021, we happen to be at a really special time, well, for our world and our country, but also for martial arts. I mean, we are doing things with our worldwide virtual program that we happen to know literally nobody else in the country is doing. They have virtual classes, but they don't have anything like what we're doing with our worldwide program. It's really, really exceptional. We were just talking to some people the other day that were sent our way to ask us some questions because we have a reputation in the martial arts community for doing worldwide at such a high level. And really, truly, so many of the praise for that goes to Mr. Pieper, goes to Ms. DeWade, goes to the team that has worked so hard. That goes to the team that has really, really built that program and seen it as more of just like, oh, here's a Band-Aid that we're going to do until we can get back in person. It's like, no, this is an opportunity to reach people, to reach kids and families that otherwise we would not be able to reach. And it's another, I think, a great moment of when we act out of purpose, what we can achieve. But talk a little bit, if you would, about the differences of teaching virtually and in our worldwide program than teaching in person. Because to Mr. Pieper's credit, teaching virtually is most schools, most academies, like big successful academies over the country, like couldn't wait to stop their virtual programs because it's a different thing.
Yeah.
It's a different.
Well, first of all, I will talk about that. But first of all, if people don't know you, Mrs. Quirk, you're the one that is basically leading up the worldwide program. I mean, you are meeting with these guys weekly, and you're pushing in the badge program and just the different ways you guys are coming at this worldwide program. It's been amazing, and you have been leading it. So if people don't know that, now they do, and they should.
I've got a pretty talented team to lead with Mr. Pieper, Ms. DeWade, and crew. So they make me look good. So
I like your humbleness. That's good.
So talk about though teaching virtually. I mean, this is no small thing, and it's really a feather in Mr. Pieper and other instructors in the team's hat what they're doing with the worldwide program, because the vast majority of schools are either doing like streaming, right? They're which is fine. I'm not saying anything is like bad about that, but what we're trying to do is something different. And the teaching, the actual practitioner, the person who can instruct over Zoom, people of all different ages, different setups in their living rooms or their basements, different. I mean, talk about that. That's quite an instructing piece.
Well, and I think that this is basically what we're talking about tonight. It's being a leader, doing what it takes to live purpose, right? It's not about me. It's about the student. So you're right. There's a lot of martial arts instructors. I have friends that are like, I can't wait to be done with the virtual classes. And when I really push them on it, it's because they don't like teaching virtually. They like teaching in person.
Right.
So it's not really about the student. It's really more about what they want and need and what they're getting out of teaching, right? Or at least some part of it is anyways. But I think with the virtual, and to point with Mr. Pieper, Mr. Pieper's credit, he has morphed to whatever he needs to morph to affect the most people. Mm-hmm. And what I mean, and to give a detail on that is, Mr. Pieper was actually reversing everything he did left and right. So when he was supposed to teach left, he would teach right. And he did it to the point where he actually forgot which was his left hand and which was his right hand.
Yeah, we were talking about that on an episode several weeks ago. Yeah.
And talk about just being in purpose. And it wasn't about ego. It wasn't about what he needed. It's like, hey, this is what my students need. So I am going to learn how to teach everything backwards. Mm-hmm. And so since then, we've got the tech now where I think we've switched some things. So Mr. Pieper doesn't have to switch his left and his right. But that's right. I think that's why we've been so successful with it, is because you and the team have been like, how do we live purpose with our students? Yeah. And how do we make this an amazing experience for them? Not for us, but how do we make it amazing for them?
Well, and I think that's a great point. And I think that one of the key ingredients that has made Worldwide so successful and continues to build on the success is really something that I learned from you and from building up the in-person Karate America programs at Brookfield and Pewaukee. And that is, I mean, we say things like, it's not about the kicking and punching. It's not about the kicking and punching. It's true. Sometimes we're even as owners and as people who are, crafting programs and crafting brand experiences for our clients, are we even awake to what we're actually doing? Like we talk about in training, what's the thing beneath the thing? So people come in and say, well, I had a great night at Karate America. Well, what made it great? Well, we know that, when somebody is within 5 steps, they get a certain greeting, they get eye contact, they get connection. We're not just connecting instructors on the floor with their kids. We're actually talking to moms and dads and family members in the lobby and asking them how their day was and asking them how Johnny or Susie are doing at home, right? We're doing follow-up, whatever the follow-up conversations look like by phone and by email and things like that. I know when I used to work at the front desk, I've said this before, people would come up to me with sort of like complaints about behavior that Johnny or Susie or whoever was having at home. And then that magically got delivered to the instructor. And then what do you know, that night, that was the mat chat on the floor to the entire class, right? And like mom and I are like, that's right. And so what are these points that make the experience of being part of our community amazing? And are we awake and astute enough to know what the science is underneath? Okay, so now if we are awake and astute enough to know what the science is underneath, how do we, this is what we asked ourselves, how do we recreate that virtually? And it's no small thing.
Right.
And is it just about somebody standing up in front of a camera and teaching a karate class? Or is it connection? Is it, to your point, great instructors or great diagnosticians? They don't just stand up there with a megaphone and yell, go, and hey, I'm teaching a class, whoever can keep up with me, great. It's like in the moment, whether I have 2 or 5 or 25 or 35 students, I'm diagnosing, okay, so that didn't work and I'm tweaking and changing, but over here it did. I mean, what great instructors are able to hold is really amazing. And just doing that and recreating that virtually, I think, to your point, is why most people are like, it's too much work. Because in some ways it's the same thing, but it's different. It's working on this different model of how to reach people. And for us, it's purpose. So we'll do that. We'll do that work, even though it is more work for us.
And, before COVID, when we were all training in person, we put all of our time and energy into figuring out how do we make the program better? How do we make it better so that we can inspire people to believe in themselves? Because in the end, it's about getting someone to believe in themselves so they can accomplish whatever they want, right? So now all of a sudden, hey, we can't teach in person anymore. What are we going to do? Throw our hands up and say, oh, sorry, I guess I'm not going to help anybody anymore. It's like, no, virtual was the option. So guess what? We are going to put all the love, all the heart, all the purpose into that platform. And we're going to get the same results.
And
it did take us a little while because we had 30 years to figure out the in-person.
Right.
We had 2 days to figure out the Zoom one, but
well, that's right. And at 30 years, for you, Mr. Quirk, but martial arts was around a couple thousand years, before you came along and before Mr. Reed even came along with Karate America. So to your point, it was really taking something that had been refined and refined and refined, and then putting these tweaks on a program of like, oh, how do we teach to kids? Oh, what if we have colored belts? What will uniforms look like? What, all these things that now to us are just like air and oxygen and blinking, means somebody actually had to figure those pieces out. And there was a point in time, what I think is so fascinating is there was a point in time where in the martial arts industry, it's like all of those things that I just mentioned can't be done. Absolutely not. Can't teach to kids. Don't do colored belts. What are you talking about? Attendance cards. What are you talking about? No attendance cards. I mean, if we name pretty much everything, somebody along the line said that just can't be done. So that's why with Worldwide, I got pretty inspired. Like people are like, can't be done. And I'm like, tell Mr. Rogers, you can't reach people through a TV screen. It can be done if we are awake enough and step up enough to figure it out. And
countless numbers of that, right? Tell Sesame Street the same thing.
Influence kids. Right. Exactly. So anyway.
And the thing is, if we are good enough instructors, again, it's really simple. It's just not easy. Over virtual in the Worldwide program, is the student doing the technique the correct way? And if they're not, I just search until I find a different way to get them to do it. I add parents in. I use them. Have them shift the direction in the room. It's come closer to the camera, go farther away from the camera. There are ways.
Absolutely. And I think too that, we're talking about instructors tonight and instructor skills. There are instructors who just will not teach little kickers. Little ninjas. They just won't teach 3, 4, 5-year-olds, period. It doesn't mean that 3, 4, 5-year-olds can't be taught. It just means that particular instructor, the skill set just doesn't match what those kids need. There are instructors who just do not want to teach advanced belts. There are instructors who don't work well with adults. or teens or whatever, the list goes on and on. So just like with Worldwide, it's like, just because, an instructor doesn't necessarily have the capabilities or the desire to teach that group, it doesn't mean that it can't be done if the instructor is willing to work hard enough to adjust his or her teaching to reach that group.
Yep.
I mean, I've seen really high-ranking, high-level veteran instructors go white as a sheet when we talk to them about teaching little ninjas.
Right. Yep.
So, and it's not that it can't be done, because there are people who do a phenomenal job with it. It's just all about the skills of the instructor, right, and how they're willing to bend. Yep,
we got pretty lucky with Mr. Peeper. He dove right in, and he's just and Mr. Wade too, and
yes.
Ms. Kinyeski's in there helping out.
Yep.
And we have, Mr. Playley's getting in now. So
yeah, the Worldwide team is incredible. But and talking about instructors, I mean, what would you say? Because here's something that people might not know about. We have just recently put ads out to the public. We want to open up to the public even about come on board with Karate America. Come be a martial arts instructor, part-time in the evening. So for the first time, I mean, since ever that I know of, we are not only are we cultivating and certifying our own internal students to be instructors, but we are going out into the community. We're putting it out there on the internet, on Indeed, Facebook ads, like, hey, if you want to come be an instructor, if you want to just have maybe like a part-time evening job and you'd like to work in a great company and inspire people and work with kids, let's talk. And so how did, you being the leader of the organization and the chief of all chief instructors, how does that make you feel, Mr. Cork? Nervous, excited? What are you thinking?
I love it. I've been saying in our industry for a long time, we this concept of only hire. Well, so it's used to start off where we'd only hire black belts. You had to be a black belt in order to be a martial arts instructor. And quite frankly, there's a lot of black belts that weren't good martial arts. Just because you're good at the technique doesn't mean you're good at teaching.
Yeah.
So then we adjusted and we started looking at, okay, what if we look at just natural teachers, people who love to inspire, people who love to build others up? Because the martial arts isn't that hard to teach, right? Experience is hard to get, but the actual physical technique isn't actually that hard to teach. So I'm really excited. I'm pumped. I mean, if you're out there and you're watching this and you love working with people and you love inspiring others to believe themselves, come work with us. I mean, we have an amazing company. We have an amazing team. I can teach you how to teach the martial arts. That's the easy part. What I can't give you is passion. What I can't, force you to have is that love of working with people.
Yeah, so, and wanting to help people.
I mean, if you're a teacher, if you're in the service industry, if you're, if you just love working with people. Yeah.
And you want to help people and you want to change people's lives. I think it's a great part-time gig if you can get it. So we're putting the call out. So if you're watching, or if you know anybody watching that would love to be a part-time instructor, this is a fantastic opportunity for them.
You can probably still hear me, but I think my camera just.
Yeah. All right, but we can still hear you. Oh, Mr. Cork is no longer with us. Too bad. But yeah, so if anybody is watching the stream and is interested in being an instructor, I think for us at Karate America, it's we're heading into this new era in our company and our organization with how do we attract more voices, different voices. We want more women. We want a more diverse group of instructors who can speak to a more diverse clientele that we have. We want to inspire people to believe in themselves, and who we are today as an organization has brought us this far. And for us to move forward, we will have to be and do differently than we've ever done before. So we are respecting tradition and embracing change. And one of those pieces of embracing change is putting ads out to the broader community, putting ads on Indeed and Facebook, and talking to you, our parents, our families, adults, anybody who maybe even you used to be a karate student even way back in the day. You had an injury, life got in the way, work got in the way. And if you want to come back for a few hours a week and change some kids' lives and work with some pretty cool people and do some fun stuff, we want you. Pick up an application at Brookfield, at Pewaukee, send us an email, let us know in the comments if you're interested. We would love to talk. And I think, Mr. Cork, that so many people, like I said in the beginning of the show, so many people I think have like, oh my gosh, the physicality I think is very intimidating to people. So talk about that, because I feel like schedule and the physical, like, oh God, am I going to be embarrassed and not physically be able to do this? They looked at the promo of you working out with, and Facebook of you working out with Mr. Hansen, and they're like, yep, I can't do that. Yeah. So I can't be an instructor. And that's something that we run into. Speak to that if you would.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, there's a little bit of feedback on it. So anyway, yeah, I would say that first of all, we need to lose that because black belt is about the journey. It's, if we have to wait and we have to be in perfect shape and have perfect technique, what will we not do? And who will we not be able to affect along the way because we're more worried about, maybe what our level of technique or fitness or how we look, if we're more worried about that than we are about the people that we can help, it's like we're actually doing a disservice to those people. So I would say, let that go. Let that go. It's about what is your personal journey. So A, do you love working with people? B, what is your personal journey? And let's go on it together. If the way I look or the way I do techniques is an issue for me, well, maybe that's one of the things that we work on over the next couple of years. But it shouldn't stop anyone from starting.
Mm-hmm. And so what would if somebody is watching this thinking, wow, that sounds really cool. Maybe I could be a part-time martial arts instructor in the evenings, but not only am I not a black belt, but maybe I'm not even a white belt or a gold belt, or, last time I took a karate class was 1994 or something.
Right.
So it's not only just the physicality, but it's the actual, do I have to be this like Bruce Lee expert at martial arts?
No. Yeah, not a bit. Like I said, I can teach you the physical techniques. That's not hard.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, again, go back to it. Do you like working with people? Do you, in the best world, you actually have some experience teaching or, educating people? That would be great. But even that
communicating.
Even that I can teach you.
Yeah.
Well, again, what I can't teach you is I can't teach you the love of working with people and the love of changing lives.
And
the rest of it can be taught.
Yeah. Parents I know, and people we would meet out in the community used to say to you, I'm moving, or we live in a different area. This was before we had worldwide. And they were like, I'm going to go to martial arts schools. What should I look for? And they were usually very focused on techniques and styles. Yep. And what would you always tell them?
I say, go and take at least one class and watch the interaction between the instructor and the student and your child.
Yeah.
Do you like the way the instructor interacted with your child? Then that's the school for you.
Yeah. And how the people,
or at least that's the first step, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how people in that organization are treating you. It starts with the first phone call. It starts with the email. How are you treated when you walk into the lobby? How do people greet you? And how does that instructor work with your child, or if you are the student with you? And I think that that's so important because it's like, that's the foundational piece to being an instructor. So you don't have to be super, super athletically gifted. In fact, some of the best instructors that I know started out as being sort of like gym class misfits. When they shared with me later, they were the people that didn't do well in sports. They were the people that never got picked for the team. They were the people that had 2 left feet. And to watch them be martial artists, like nobody would ever believe that. But
guess who knows how to explain all the pitfalls.
Right.
Right.
Well, right. And that's why sometimes I think some of the most elite practitioners are not necessarily great instructors, not necessarily.
Right.
Because what's the saying? How do I lead somebody through something that I've never experienced myself?
Or worse. I think we're saying the same thing. If it comes to me easy, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to teach it. I can just do it.
Yeah.
So and
how do you teach that?
Right. With high levels of talent, with high levels of, skill and stuff like that, sometimes that's a detriment.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want the person that had to struggle through it. Because
Absolutely.
Now they're going to be able to connect with another student, and they're going to have 3 or 4 different ways that they had to try in order to make it work.
Absolutely. You know me pretty well. And if it's possible for me to get lost and have terrible directions, I will. To the point where I think when we're driving, sometimes you're like, should we go left or right? And if I say right, you go left, and it's almost always right. Like my instincts for directions are just horrific. And so like back before GPS and Google Maps and all that, when it was just like people giving directions, most people were always like, wow, you gave incredible precise directions how to get to this place. It's like, yep, that's because I got lost about 4 times. So I will walk you through every single pitfall that you could put in. Now, somebody who's great with directions, like, I don't know, head east for 2 miles and then turn left. Like, I don't know what that means. Right. So parlay that to martial arts, anybody who has struggled through, I think, can really, really speak to and communicate with students that are learning and struggling.
Yeah. And I know you say you're bad at directions, but you do have a 6th sense for certain type of directions.
Well, yeah, right? Staying out of danger when traveling in foreign countries, I that's different than like, hey, how do you get to the Dairy Queen? That I'm miserable at. I need GPS, but how to keep us out of dangerous situations after hours in foreign countries on weird bus routes with instructors that don't speak English. That's a whole different episode, guys. If you want that episode, let us know in the comments. We can walk you through some travel adventures that we've had. But so, I mean, so we have hopefully we have a captive audience here of people that are like, that's kind of interesting. What about people who might want to teach virtually?
I mean, same thing.
Same thing? Same
thing, yeah. I mean,
so somebody who wanted to say, maybe go through the program and see if they've got what it takes and be able to teach a class or two, a week for virtual.
I think that's even, in some ways, that's even easier. And I say that because you don't have to, if you're, in New York listening to this, or California, or somewhere else in the world, we can actually teach you how to teach virtually.
Yeah.
So you don't actually have to drive to the physical location. So
right. And as our program is, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, as our program is expanding, one thing we've been talking about is we have to add more time zones. So hey, if you're on the West Coast, Mountain Time, we're looking out in that area to provide some more classes for those students. Right now, we kind of got like the Central and East Coast time zone, but we need some California West Coasters here in our worldwide program.
Well, this is what is so inspiring to me. It's like, we've talked about purpose and values. It's something we live. It's something we believe in. It's something we believe everyone should experience is our program, and what we do for people. Yeah. That's why I'm so excited about the worldwide program, is because we're no longer going to just affect our immediate community. We can literally affect the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, and you and I have talked for years about how I don't want to say a drawback, but one of the features of our in-person classes is being around people. And let's be honest, there are people out there in the world who social anxiety, introverts, whatever, like they don't want to go into, I know it's weird for people like you to understand, like raging extrovert people person, but not everybody necessarily wants that environment, but they maybe do want to earn their black belt and they do want to be a martial artist. And what I think is exciting, for people that don't necessarily want that big, loud environment to train in, it's like, well, great, do it right in your living room. And you don't have to even venture out to a brick and mortar place to do that. But we're coming to the end of our episode here. If you have questions for Mr. Quirk, please put them in comments. If you have insights to share, your experiences with Karate American instructors or any other martial arts instructors over the years, if you have a wonder, if you have a comment, if you have a question and insight, now's the time. Put it in chat. Let us know what your thoughts are. We want to hear from you. We don't want to do all the talking. We want to hear what thoughts and questions you guys have. So let us know in the chat what you're thinking about. We're talking about being an instructor, a martial arts instructor. Think outside the box. We tend to have a picture of what a martial arts instructor needs to be, and so often that just isn't the case. Is there a key age range, Mr. Quirk, that you found that you look for in instructors, or does it just kind of vary more about the person?
It's more about the person. It's more about, do I love working with people? I can't stress that enough.
Yeah. And what about the other, I'm trying to think like of all the things that people are like, yeah, but one of the final things that I hear is like, yeah, but I'm not really like a loud yeller. I'm not that big, loud, bold personality. What do you say to that?
I say, so let's not put you in front of a class where you have to be big and bold and loud. Let's let you work with a couple students, off to the side.
Yeah. Interesting. How do we get to yes, right?
Yeah. How do we get to yes? I mean, that's the essence of black belt, right? Adapt. How do we get to yes?
Yeah. And we've even been talking about bringing in instructors who maybe just want to do something on a couple of Saturdays, because we have birthday parties and special events where people can go on Saturdays and on weekends. So if weeknights is not really fitting your schedule, but this sounds really intriguing, talk to us, talk to your team at Brookfield, at Worldwide, at Pewaukee, because we actually have some new openings that we're making available on Saturdays for things like birthday parties, high interest days, special events. And I think at least like half of our instructors that we have now came to us as students from special events. So if you really want to impact people, go be a Karate American instructor at a zoo demo or a parade or a birthday party or a high interest day or something like that. That's how so many of our families see us and find out about us. Do you have anything? We're coming to the end of our episode here, Mr. Quirk. Thanks for being on. Thanks for talking about this with me. You've been a martial arts instructor for 31 years?
Martial artist for 31 years. Yeah.
Okay. So 30
Instructor
years,
for
maybe
probably 29 or 30, yeah, something
so
like that.
about 3 decades. And you just, what, in closing, what do you love the most? What specifically? I know you love working with people, things like that, but give us like an insider. What really pumps you up about working with martial art students?
So there's something that happens when someone, so it's like a layer, right? When someone gets a technique and they finally understand it, there's kind of this aha moment. And that jazzes me, but even deeper than that, when something clicks and I can see it in the student's face when they actually believe in themselves. And it's like they get that technique, but I can see like this underlying thing go even deeper. And it's like I love that feeling. I love the feeling that just that small interaction will have generational change.
Well, yeah. Oh, that gives me goosebumps. Ms. Kaniewski saying, I was just going to ask what the weekend option is in the ads. So yes, if you just want to come in and maybe teach some birthday parties or teach some special events with the kiddos on the weekends, we can accommodate even that schedule. So yeah, definitely guys, take a look out on Indeed on our ad. We are running Facebook ads, or just pick up an application or talk to somebody at the Academy. If being a part-time evening life changer, chief inspirer is something that you would like to do, or even inspire in training. If you think you have to be this and be that and look like that and do that, you're probably thinking the wrong thing. Just have to really be living in purpose, want to help people, want to communicate, connect. If your life or somebody you love's life has been changed through martial arts, a lot of times people just simply want to give back. And now that they have a little bit of time, or their kids are a little bit older, or whatever their situation is, just so that maybe they have a couple hours on a weeknight to give back to the new generation of kids and families coming up. That's a pretty cool way to spend, maybe not a Tuesday night at 8:00 because you have to watch the live stream, but like any other night of the week, other night of the week, it's a really good way to spend a couple of hours. So, Mr. Quirk, in closing, what is your invitation? What is your advice to anybody listening who is just sort of like muddling over, maybe coming on board and being a part-time instructor with us?
I would say if you love working with people, if you love changing lives, and you want to be part of a company that is young and exciting, and we train together, we work together. Not only do we have fun and change lives, we learn high-level communication skills. I think we're just a really interesting, unique company that I don't think is easy to find a place like ours. So we invite you to come be part of it and live purpose.
Absolutely. And in closing, hey guys, we're still sitting at 136 subscribers. So I humbly ask, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please, please, please just hit that little subscribe button down in the corner. It would mean so much to us. Thank you so much for joining us on the live stream tonight. We are going to be live next week. I have a very special guest planned.
Yeah.
Would you like to hear who the guest next week is going to be? I'm excited about this.
I know who it is. Yeah.
You did. So next week, so June obviously is Father's Day month. We're talking about role models and leaders and dads and grandpas and uncles and all the important guys in our lives that make such a big difference. And I have one of the original, when I say one of the original, I think it could possibly be like maybe our third family to ever sign up with us at Karate America in Brookfield when we first opened. So truly, truly one of the original Karate America dads, Mr. Mike Stavropoulos, is going to be my guest on the live stream next week.
Amazing.
If any of you know Mr. Stavropoulos Sr., so this is not Mr. Nico Stavropoulos, this is Mr. Nico Stavropoulos' dad, who brought little Mr. Nico Stavropoulos in as a student and signed him up on a program. Mr. Stavropoulos has been a part of our community for, going on now, close to 20 years. And he has been a student. He has been a dad of black belts, a spouse of an instructor. You name it, anything in the Karate America.
Business owner. Yep.
He's a business owner in the community. He's just a fantastic guy. I know he's usually joining us on our live stream. And if you're watching tonight, sir, I hope you're not blushing. We're really talking you up, but we're really, really excited to have him join us next week. It is going to be a super, super fun conversation. You will not want to miss that. So thank you.
And then we're also working on getting Mr. Osborne.
We are hopefully here in the next couple of few weeks, we will also have Mr. Osborne on the live stream.
He's traveling a lot, though.
He is traveling a lot, and it makes it a little dicey when he can join us, but we're trying. Yeah. We're trying. And then also in the month of June, we are hoping to have, I believe we're going to have Mr. Hansen talk about somebody who has gone through transition of Black uniform. Now he's a dad in the martial arts, student, instructor, operations manager. Mr. Hansen's going to have a lot of things to contribute to his episode here coming up in June. And we have a couple other Karate America dads that are going to be joining us in the month of June. So I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, guys. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please join us next week at 8 p.m. with Mr. Stavropoulos right here on the live stream. And until then, continue to be on purpose. Thanks so much for your time. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.